Hey there, welcome to Something About Tabletop. I am Master Blah, and with me today is.
The illustrious hobo. Why didn't you give yourself a title? You need one.
The magnificent Master Blah. I don't know. Maybe we'll work it out. We'll workshop that shit. So if you have an idea, put it in the comment section below, because I am a very uncreative, apparently. Anyway, let's continue on. So today's topic, as you can see by the title, is going to be brick and mortar stores, and I guess the merits of them and just talking about maybe how currently people are going away from them, when in my opinion, people should be supporting them. And I know it's incredibly difficult because of the current economy and stuff like that, but I love brick and mortar stores, and so does Hobo here too.
Yeah, brick and mortar stores are great. They're a good experience to meet more experienced players than yourself and learn. It's a really good stepping stone tool, which we don't really have on the internet all the time, especially with the more obscure systems or, well, just games in general.
Well, I think the thing with the internet is you can easily obtain everything. It can be free, and you don't have to pay money for it. The biggest problem is that a lot of brick and mortar stores we haven't actually experienced this. We're quite lucky. Our brick and mortar stores near us are amazing. And just so you know, we're in Australia, so that is quite rare as well. Seeing as we don't really get that, this kind of hobby is pretty rare here too. But the thing is that a lot of them are for card games and war games because they sell. The big problem with RPGs is you buy the book, and then you may buy a book if you like the edition every couple years, and you might buy dice and maybe figure like if you buy figurines, yeah, they'll love you. But the thing is that you're not buying much all the time, unlike Magic the Gathering players, which can be forking out $100 a week for that hobby.
It's being light. Depends what format they're playing. Standard players will regularly fork out on a couple of monthly basis between $100 to $300.
Yeah, but well, standard players are the ones that fork out the most money. Modern players fork out the most money all at once. But then there's people who play every single format and they are spending $100 a week more than. I know I was doing it for a while. I am a Magic player, and I guess Hobo is a Magic player, so maybe you might see some bias there. But in my opinion, if I wasn't, and the thing is I know people who aren't, and still go to brick and mortar stores and try to buy from them, because the thing is that they, in my opinion, are the best way to spread the hobby in a local area, because people see that sign and they walk in and they talk to people. And I don't know about your brick and mortar store, but ours, for us, there are two in particular. One called the Hobby Matrix, and the other called Justice Comics. Is Justice Comics, is it?
Yeah, it's Justice Comics.
Yeah, they're both brick and mortar stores that are located in Adelaide, and they have an incredibly good atmosphere and all that. And we love going there. I mean, I don't go there as much as I should these days, money problems and all that. But that's why I've gone to the OSG. But I know plenty of people that go to these places regularly, especially to play Pathfinder Society. There are people that go to these places to play a variety of other games. And will there be World of Darkness? I know that some people go to World of Darkness or Justice. There's plenty of people that play many different games for whatever at all these stores, and they still perpetuate the hobby. But the thing is that like the OSG. Sorry guys, but I've seen plenty of threads from you guys, and this is probably because you guys don't have a good brick and mortar store. It like just calling it crap and saying that they should give up. And to be honest, I don't think they should. They should try harder, and we should also try harder to help them to stay.
I honestly don't understand why anyone could hate a brick and mortar store. I mean, there's the exceptions of when the owners are dicks or the people that go there are dicks, but you get that with any sort of hobby or event. And the reality of it is that brick and mortar stores exist because people love the hobby and they love that sort of thing. And the other part is that, well, how else do yeah, we can buy our RPGs online, we can buy the books online from the manufacturer and the PDFs, like with Magic and other card games and like other board games. You know, yeah, you can buy them off the internet, but most of the time you get them from brick and mortar stores. So why are you in these sorts of places where you can find so many wonderful things? I don't really know why you would.
Well, it's simply because they don't want to have to pay the money, and that's completely fine. I understand that. I'm kind of doing it now. I do like to pop down there now and again to have a couple games. Not really putting much money towards them, sadly. But, you do what you can. I mean, I know plenty of people that still go there. I guess it is for Magic, which a lot of people also demonize, cardboard crack and all that. So, anyway, yeah, it's mainly to do with price with the brick and mortar stores. And it's 100% to do with also getting there too. Some people do live in the country, and I totally understand if you're not able to get there easily. For me, it's a 15-minute drive, or just to go to town, which there's other stuff there anyway, so it's usually worth it. Yeah, any thoughts on that, Hobo?
I mean, I get when you're out in a rural area, but I don't feel like to hate these sorts of things. And in regards to Magic being cardboard crack, I mean, like it doesn't bother me. It's like any other hobby, but like that's just one of those things where, if anything, I'd say like Magic is one of the few things, and probably the main thing keeping most brick and mortar stores alive. The amount of money that just like and it brings in is ridiculous, and it's ever growing. I mean, in recent years, we've seen mini wargaming does as well, but not as much. I mean, Warhammer's been slowly dying as people don't really like the direction of the company, and as the prices have been hiking up steadily, and the other smaller mini games just aren't big enough to sustain a store by themselves most of the time.
Well, Magic the Gathering is getting crackier and crackier, more and more people coming into the game. But I'll tell you what, Magic the Gathering is a gateway drug, and it can lead to other things. Actually, everything. I repeat, everything at a more brick and mortar store, whether that be war games, whether that be just be freaking going there and painting, which by the way, people do that, at least near my local one, or anything. You go see, like say you go for a Magic tournament, and then you go see these group of people at the end of the hall or whatever the store, just playing this cool game where they're rolling dice, and instead of just playing a 2/2 creature and swinging with that to fight, they're pretending to be a fighter and they're going on an epic quest. And the amount of times that I played in, let's say, the Hobby Matrix, playing a game, and people come up after a Magic tournament and go, "What are you guys playing?" And then you talk to them and stuff like that, and you go, "Hey, would you like to play Pathfinder Society? Why don't you join a game in the next couple days?" And then they're like, "Well, yeah, I do want to do that." And that's where playing at brick and mortar stores can sometimes have a positive of that you can get other people into the game. And I guess at least, I don't know about you guys, but our brick and mortar stores, what they did also, I guess kind of for the RPG players and just anyone in general, is they had snack foods and stuff at the counter that you can buy. I think that's a really good idea because it keeps people that just go there to play to spend money.
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much agree. I mean, there aren't a lot of bad things I can really say about brick and mortar stores. I mean, of course, there are the exceptions where, again, there are dicks or the store just isn't like big enough to accommodate. We have a few of those places that like they just sell cards up where we are, but like they're not intended for you to sort of play in. But we're very lucky in that most of our brick and mortar stores are very large, and especially with Comics, on the nights where Magic isn't regularly happening, even just during the day period, like all the tables that are used for Magic are still there, and people still fill them up with Pathfinder and all kinds of other different games, and it doesn't really cost them anything. I don't think actually anything to sit down and just play some games of Magic. And I mean, that sort of food and drink, and they also sell comics, is a great way to, I guess, continue to support your store.
Yeah, and even some stores, I'm completely fine with this. Say, hey, maybe a couple $2 to play your RPG game that is 3 hours long. That seems fine to me. I'll put $2 to that. I'm okay with
Yeah.
that. And it's really good for some people, like at least a lot of people I know, and even me personally, I find it difficult sometimes to actually find a place to play. We usually use Hobo's place because he has a shed and his parents don't mind us being there. But a lot of people we know have certain situations where that's not possible and we don't really have a place to go. Or maybe you have kids and they're really annoying, or just a whole range of things are stopping you from having people at your place. Just go to a brick and mortar store and
Yeah.
just do
Well,
that. But yeah,
sorry, I'm just butt in. I mean, the place that just as comics used to be, which was called GameQuest. And before GameQuest closed down and was bought up, for a long time, they actually had like a big like whiteboard or blackboard, and on that blackboard were like the table, there were table bookings and schedulings. So you could set a night and you could book in, and it showed like what all the games were, and if people were looking for plays and stuff like that, or if it was a closed game or a book game. And pretty much it was the GM gets in for free to run the game, and then the player themselves, I think it was just like $5, just to for your seat for the night, and that's what it was. And that was a pretty good system because it meant everyone got their own little space to play their games. And if you were interested in trying something out, like you didn't necessarily even have to buy like the books if you had the like Fs, which of course you can get for free, but always if you like games, support your developers because you don't want to see them go out of business. You can just show up, pay $5, and then try the game. And if you don't like it, you've only wasted $5 rather than maybe 40, and then find no one to play with.
Yeah, but this is always a thing of the actual stores themselves. So I guess if you have a store that's local enough, and maybe you have a group of people that you even play with, or you play adventures or whatever, like I'm assuming there's definitely people out there that are in this situation. Maybe trying to work something out with your brick and mortar store. Maybe they're not large enough to accommodate having players and other games, and that's fine. It's not going to work for everyone. I actually think that we're quite lucky to have 2 stores that are reasonably close to us. Actually, 3 stores that are reasonably close to us that are really good. And I think we're actually quite lucky with that, especially being in Adelaide, Australia. So this place is where we live. Not much goes on here. I mean, you got your town, but it's not as great as many major cities and stuff in other countries. And I mean, the hobby isn't that big here either. I mean, Magic's pretty big. Definitely, Magic's huge. I mean, Magic's huge everywhere. And I think that's really, really what scares people away is people playing Magic, people playing Warhammer. But I mean, maybe talk to them because you'd be surprised how many of them actually would be completely cool with playing with you. But of course, I can concede, dicks be dicks. And there's not much you can do about them. So I really feel sorry for you if you have to deal with dicks at your brick and mortar store. You could either try to overpower them or avoid them. And I'm obviously not going to fault you for that. If you have a shitty store, don't go there. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things where, there are going to be dicks in any hobby and no matter where you go, but I don't necessarily think you should start, being prejudiced towards any sort of, just because you have some bad experiences with some MTG play, don't just blanket statement everyone, because I've met some people through Magic I never would have believed I would have met. I mean, the amount of people who just play Magic who are, because we're all just people, but the amount of businessmen I've met who come in late after finishing work on Friday who are still in their work clothes, their business suits, with their suitcases and stuff, and they just sit down and they take off the jacket and they're just playing some Magic is actually rather astounding. You never know who you're going to meet in these hobbies, and it's always interesting to meet new people and talk to them, even if not all of them are fantastic. But, if that really is a problem and your local brick and mortar store is full of elitists and dicks, then there's not much you can really do about that. And I guess that is the only real way I would advocate not going to a brick and mortar store.
Yeah, and I mean, that sucks. There's pretty much nothing you can do about that. And I will admit that it is harder and harder these days for brick and mortar stores to focus on the hobbyist gamer than the hardcore MTG player, and that really sucks. It would be great to live in a world where they can more focus on D&D or equally focus even. But I mean, the demand is there for Magic, and Magic's pretty good, so I'm okay with that personally. But I mean, yeah. Do you have anything else to say on this topic? I think I'm running dry here right now. I mean, did we cover everything?
I was just going to say, as someone who's not a huge MTG player, who plays very casually, who has an alright understanding and an alright grip on it, that even though I'm not a huge fan of MTG, I can understand why stores are pushing for these things and why you as an RPG player not like it. You have to look at it this way. How much money do you spend compared to these MTG players? That's the thing. If you want a store to go and sit down and play games in, and then expect that you're not going to have to pay for it, and that you want priority over Magic players, is just ridiculous. These because those are paying customers. That's the thing you got to remember. Those people are paying customers. They come every Friday. They pay for Friday Night Magic. When they're there. They usually buy booster packs as well, and drinks and other stuff. And it's like, we're never going to get the same position, like, because we can't, keep providing that sort of, the same sort of paid service GHAM brings in. And as much as I'd love there to be a world, like Tom said, where it was all sort of equal and we could have stores dedicated to just running, like,
Yeah.
roleplay games, we're never going to get that because we can't bring in the same revenue just to stay in stores. It's just not a sustainable model for stores. And hell, I think even if people's local stores did start charging for, like, even like just $5 something small for people to like sit down, and like that $5 just, it's not like a time limit. It just covers your seat for as long as you're there. I think you'd find people would still complain about being charged, like, even though that's I think in my opinion, a very, very reasonable ask.
Yeah, I mean, $5, yeah, that's fine. I mean, $2 is usually what they charge, like whatever coinage you have, and some even don't charge. If you're already a decent customer, or you maybe buy something, I mean, the Hobby Matrix, I remember for the longest time, I went in there and didn't really buy much, but I still was allowed to play there because I once did spend a lot of money there. I mean, not everyone's going to be in that situation, but that's just what happens. I mean, I'm just lucky to have a great brick and mortar store. I mean, from the Hobby Matrix, the owner of the place used to play Shadowrun with me. So how freaking cool is that? But not everyone's going to have that experience. Something else that I would like to cover also is that, at least me personally, because I want brick and mortar stores to still exist, I still buy my stuff from them. Obviously, sometimes for $10 extra. But I think that that's a good place to put my money because I want brick and mortar stores around. So if you want your brick and mortar stores around, spend your money. And if you don't, I mean, don't then. I mean, we're trying to shine the light to people that maybe are on the fence. I'm not trying to change your ways, your evil brick and mortar store hating ways, because I completely understand if you are in a situation where your brick and mortar store sucks. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much me in brick and mortar stores. And yeah, I think I'm done now. So, Hobo, you all good?
Yeah. Well, my closing notes are just like, I prefer brick and mortar stores. I mean, like, sometimes, like, especially with books, maybe I'll buy them online because we do get marked up quite a lot in Australia. But if the markup's only $10 or so, I don't really mind. But the major thing is, if you play any board games or if you part of any card games, I know I don't actually really like buying cards online because you can only really trust the descriptions. Whereas if you go in store, you can see exactly what quality you're getting if you were to like buy those cards because they have them in binders, and that's really good for me at least. It gives me that sort of like peace of mind. I don't really like ordering cards off the net. I mean, like, I could get plenty of the cards I need for so many of my MTG decks, but I don't because I'd much rather get them from where I can see them, so I know that they are in good quality and they're in good nick.
Also, I hate waiting. I'd rather just be like, I want a thing,
too.
go to the store, buy it. I'm very much an impulse buyer too, so when I did have money when I went there, I'd always come back with something, which is not always necessarily good. But yeah, I love my brick and mortar stores. I guess we'll do a shout out to them as well. So if you happen to be in Adelaide, in Australia, check out the Hobby Matrix and check out Justice Comics. They're super awesome
And
stores. Oh, and Infinity
Games. Don't forget the third.
I haven't actually been to Infinity Games much, but check out Infinity Games as well. If you are elsewhere, if you've never been to a brick and mortar store, maybe check them out. Maybe look into organizing regular games with other people there. Because maybe there has been other people that have come in and asked about D&D, because D&D is kind of newish. Maybe you can set something up. But otherwise, yeah, that's me, Master Blah.
Yeah, and this is Hobo. I don't really have anything else to add other than, if you want it to happen, you're going to have to make it happen, and friends are going to have to go in and try and figure things out. If you bring people and get asses on seats, it'll happen.
Exactly. And thank you for watching our ramble on brick and mortar stores. See you later.